Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the news from SABA satellite channel from Marib. Here are tonight's top stories.
President Al-Alimi meets UN envoy to discuss peace efforts on latest developments.
President Al-Alimi directs Yemeni diplomats to strengthen international support for state sovereignty.
Canada and Germany reaffirm support for Yemen and condemn sovereignty violations and Houthi escalation.
Welcome back, and to details. President Rashad Al-Alimi met United Nations Special Envoy for Yemen, Hazi Grand-Purge, to review the envoy's latest consultations and international efforts to revive the peace process based on the agreed political references. The President praised the United Nations envoy's efforts to promote de-escalation and peace while accusing the Houthi militia of repeatedly backing away from peace commitments whenever progress appeared within reach. He said the group's actions remain closely linked to Iran's regional agenda. Al-Alimi also said recent tensions were triggered by violation of Yemen's sovereignty through an attempt Iranian flight outside the authority of the state, rejecting what he called Houthi narratives over the issue. The President stressed that any lasting peace requires clear political commitments, including respect for the state's exclusive authority, the end of armed groups operating outside the state institutions, and adherence to the rule of law.
President Dr. Rashad Al-Alimi chaired a meeting with Yemen's ambassadors and heads of diplomatic missions abroad, attended by Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Dr. Shaya Zindani. The President praised the Foreign Ministry and its diplomatic missions for representing Yemen and serving its citizens under difficult circumstances, saying diplomats are now an essential part of defending the Republic, its sovereignty, and its legitimate institutions. He said recent developments have shown that national battles are no longer fought only on the battlefield, but also in capitals, international organizations, and media, and decision-making centers, making international support vital. President Al-Alimi reviewed the political, diplomatic, and military measures taken in response to the recent Houthi escalation, stating that the government had succeeded in shifting international attention from what was presented as humanitarian flight to an issue involving the sovereignty of a UN member state in respect of international law. He instructed diplomatic mission to strengthen international isolation of the Houthi militia, defend Yemen's legal and sovereign rights, counter misinformation with facts and international law, and continue highlighting Houthi human rights violations while supporting humanitarian initiatives that respect the government's exclusive authority over the country's airspace.
President Dr. Rashad Al-Alimi chaired a joint meeting with provincial governors and the Supreme Security Committee attended by Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Dr. Shaya Zindani. The meeting reviewed political, security, and economic developments, as well as government efforts to improve public services, strengthen state institutions, and enhance security and stability across the country. Discussions also focused on what the government described as repeated Iranian violations of Yemen's sovereignty and Houthi attempts to divert attention from internal challenges by escalating tensions. President Al-Alimi urged local authorities to strengthen coordination with military, security, and intelligence agencies, combat terrorism, smuggling, and corruption, protect ports and strategic facilities, and improve essential public services. He said the government had responded to recent Houthi escalations with the approach of a responsible state, prioritizing the protection of Yemen's sovereignty while working to maintain regional and international support without allowing the conflict to widen. The President also welcomed Jordan's humanitarian initiative to resume flights between Sana'a and Amman, stressing that easing civilian suffering doesn't diminish the state's exclusive authority over Yemen's airspace and airports or alter its commitment to restoring state institutions.
As Yemen intensifies its diplomatic campaign, government officials are taking documented evidence of Iranian support for the Houthi militia to major world capitals seeking stronger international action against escalating violations that threaten regional security and global maritime navigation. More in this report.
In line with the strategic directives of the Presidential Leadership Council and the government, Yemeni diplomacy has intensified its shuttle diplomacy across major world capitals, carrying documented evidence that exposes the extent of Iran's destabilizing interference in Yemen. This intensified diplomatic campaign aims to place the international community before its responsibilities regarding the military and logistical support provided by Iranian regime to the Houthi terrorist militia, and the direct threat that poses to the Arab national security and the safety of strategic maritime routes in the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. This diplomatic mobilization comes in parallel with a series of high-level meetings of the Presidential Leadership Council and the National Defense Council, as well as the President Dr. Rashad al-Alimi's meetings with ambassadors of the permanent members of the UN Security Council and the countries sponsoring the peace process. Through these coordinated efforts, Yemen seeks to forge a firmer international position towards Tehran's actions, emphasizing that restoring state institutions and ending the Houthi coup are the only guarantee and fundamental pillar for safeguarding regional security and ensuring the stability of global maritime navigation. At the heart of this diplomatic effort, Yemen's ambassadors in Moscow, Beijing, and Mogadishu delivered clear messages highlighting the dangers of Houthis' Iranian escalation. In China, Ambassador Mohammad al-Maytami detailed Iran's violations, including the operations of illegal flights and the smuggling of weapons in blatant violation of UN Security Council resolutions. Meanwhile, in Russia, Ambassador Ahmad al-Wahaishi outlined the repercussions of these actions and peace prospects, stressing that Iranian interference remains the greatest obstacle to stability in Yemen and the wider region. The diplomatic momentum extended beyond these capitals to Indonesia, Spain, the Czech Republic, and Bulgaria, where Yemen's ambassadors successfully rallied broad support for the internationally recognized government's position. These countries reaffirmed their full support for Yemen's sovereignty and territorial integrity, emphasizing their backing for peace efforts undermined by Iran's destabilizing activities. This reflects the success of Yemeni diplomacy in building international opposition to the Iranian project and further isolating it diplomatically, paving the way for the restoration of the state and the establishment of lasting security.
Presidential Leadership Council member and Hadramaut Governor Salim Ahmed Al-Khanbashi attended part of the fourth regular meeting of the Supreme Council for Medical and Health Specializations for 2026. Al-Khanbashi stressed the importance of supplying public hospitals and medical facilities with qualified doctors and healthcare professionals, describing them as the foundation for improving healthcare services. He praised the Council's efforts in training medical personnel, awarding advanced professional qualifications, and developing the country's medical education system, while calling for specialized training programs to be expanded to all governorates and aligned with the health sector's priorities. The Council reviewed a range of professional and regulatory issues, including fees for practitioners residing abroad, recognition for Jordanian board certificates, licensing producers for visiting foreign physicians, mechanisms for handling suspected medical malpractice cases, and licensing requirements for graduates in hospital and health administration. Members also discussed mandatory internship requirements for pharmacy graduates and other measures aimed at strengthening professional standards, improving regulation, and enhancing the quality of medical and healthcare services in Yemen.
The Presidency of Consultation and Reconciliation Commission discussed the latest political and military developments, focusing on continued Houthi escalation and ongoing Iranian interference in Yemen. The meeting, chaired by Commission President Mohammed al-Ghaithi and attended by his deputies, condemned Houthi actions and Iranian involvement, describing them as violations of Yemen's sovereignty and obstacles to efforts aimed at achieving peace and stability. The Commission held the Houthi militia responsible for the continued escalation and for undermining initiatives intended to end the conflict. It also reaffirmed its full support for the Presidential Leadership Council, as well as the decisions and measures taken by the Council, the National Defense Council, and the government. The Commission further expressed support for the Saudi-led coalition back in Yemen's internationally recognized government. Participants stressed the importance of maintaining national unity, preserving state institutions, and supporting efforts to achieve a just and lasting peace.
The United Nations, the United Kingdom, and Saudi Arabia have welcomed Jordan's initiative to resume regular commercial flights between Amman and Sana'a, describing the move as an important humanitarian step supported by the Yemeni government. United Nations Special Envoy for Yemen has again urged the resumption of flights would expand civilian air travel for Yemenis, noting that facilitating freedom of movement remains a key principle of the 2022 United Nations procured truce. The United Kingdom described the initiative as a positive development that would strengthen humanitarian efforts, ease the suffering of Yemenis, provide direct benefits to citizens, and contribute to regional stability and security. Saudi Arabia also welcomed the launch of regular flights, saying the initiative would help meet Yemen's humanitarian needs and facilitate civilian travel. In a statement carried by the Saudi press agency, the kingdom praised the Yemeni government's approval of the initiative and urged the Houthi militia to respond constructively, avoid further escalation, and support efforts to promote Yemen's security, stability, sovereignty, and the aspirations of its people.
Canada and Germany have reaffirmed their support for Yemen's internationally recognized government, condemning violations of the country's sovereignty and warning against further regional escalation. In a statement, the Canadian government expressed concern over the Iranian aircraft landing in Yemen without authorization from the legitimate government, reiterating its support for Yemen's sovereignty. Canada also voiced full solidarity with Saudi Arabia following recent Houthi attacks and threats, noting that the Houthis are designated as a terrorist organization under Canadian law and warning that such actions endanger regional security and stability. Meanwhile, Germany renewed its support for the Yemeni government and the Yemeni people's aspirations for peace and stability, while condemning repeated violations of Yemen's sovereignty. The German embassy said neither Yemen nor the wider region can afford another cycle of escalation and strongly condemned the recent Houthi attacks on Saudi Arabia, reaffirming Germany's commitment to regional stability and continued support for Yemen.
That was the news bulletin from SABA satellite channel from Marib. Thank you for watching and have a good time.
Have a good time.
ليش تصل المكيف؟